Great piece, great piece, great piece. So I want to talk about what's been happening this month as far as my interest in home ownership and also my interest in voter rights. So when I came back from Minnesota in 2016, I had went to Minnesota to get a degree in aviation, freight, and also to pursue my career in nursing. Okay, I did all that, right? I was a memory care aide, um, a medication aide, and I was also a hospice aide, basically certified in the state of Michigan. You can look it up, right? Nothing against my name, nothing. I would work on call. I would work hours on hours on hours on hours at a time. I would work hours on at a time, right? The coordinator, the nurse coordinator, Alfreda, she's probably still there at uh, this nursing home that I used to go to um, in Minnesota. She would call me any time of the day and say, "Can you come in?" I would stop what I'm doing and I would come in and take care of the elderly, right? Mind you, I'm like 24 years old. You know, it's 2025 right now. I'm obviously a little older. And I would do that, right? And, I had other side jobs, right? Like I worked at Chipotle. I experienced racism there. Um, where else? I think I worked at what? It was a couple places I worked at when I was up there. I probably held like 6 or 7 jobs while I was up there. Like I was working at like 3 nursing homes. One of the nursing homes, right? I was taking care of this Viking guy, right? Um, he was alert, right? He wasn't on hospice. He was alert. Um, he told one of the managers, I think the manager name was Brad. He was like, he pulled me too hard because I was turning him over and basically helping him get repositioned on the bed, right? What you would call ADLs, assisted daily living habits. And the person who was working with me that day, right, it was a Native American guy, right? He was uh he was on alcohol, right? So he was inebriated. So I'm helping this guy, right? He's a Viking guy, right? He got this large beard and everything, right? He got his jeans on, his cargos, no shirt on, right? Um, Look like he may have been taking HGA, growth hormones, right? Strong guy for his age. So the manager came down there, right? I'm sitting at the table, right? I'm on the desktop, and I'm just looking up genealogy stuff. Like I was doing this stuff back in 2015. I was looking up genealogy stuff back then, but I wasn't really on what I'm on right now. Like I know a lot of stuff now. I didn't know everything back then. But the manager was like, he said, you did this, did that. And he was trying to basically accuse me while at the same time trying to come to a consensus that all you have to do is just say file a complaint, write a written statement unit, and I'm like, I ain't finna do all that, so I quit the job. I quit the job. I left. So I was at this entire time. I was still working at this other job. I was still working at this other job, and I end up stop working at this job. You know, I can still go back now if I wanted to, but I was like, you know, the landlord at the place I'm living at, she's giving me a hard time, her and her husband, right? Two European people, right? Two Anglo Saxons, right? Um, they kept coming in the house, right? And, giving these demands to me and my roommate. My roommate was from here where I'm at right now. He was from here. Um, and she removed the thermostat. So me and my roommate, we have no other choice. Like we in Minnesota in the winter. Like we gotta turn the stove on. Um, they were complaining about the stove being on. So quick story short, right? I noticed that they start using like a lot of radiation in the area. I'm not going to get into particulars and start calling stuff like, this or that. I'm not going to give it a name, right? But they start using a lot of radiation in the area. So I left, I just left Minnesota. I left all my clothes there, everything. I left it there. Like I had the room decorated and everything, right? I was inviting family from Chicago to come out there. And, I said, let me go back to Michigan, right? I came out here, I did enough. So I ended up going back. And I'll say this like November 2016, 11, November 11 when I came back. And that's the same day I left Chicago to come to Michigan as, a teenager. Um, November 11th, that was the day, 2006, that Tyrus Thomas, the rookie, was playing against San Antonio Spurs in a preseason game, right? So I'm back in Michigan, right? And I'm noticing like a lot of radiation. Like it's nobody else is experiencing what I'm experiencing. I'm thinking like, did somebody put something in my drink? Because, I had roommates and, I had my water pitcher in there that I had got from Target. It was a filter. But I don't even think it was that, right? I think it was radiation. And now it's even more obvious, right? Because the psychiatrist, right? This particular psychiatrist that you see on the previous video, she's Nigerian, right? I didn't see her in 2016. I saw an East Indian doctor, right? I saw an East Indian doctor over there at Henry Ford Hospital. And basically, I was like, man, I'm not feeling well. And I didn't know what any of these terms were that they were talking about: bipolar, depression, schizophrenia. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And to this day, I still think it's a misdiagnosis. Because even the VA, right, they gave me a different diagnosis than what these people were saying at Henry Ford. They gave me a different diagnosis. They didn't even make it, like some syndrome. They made it just a general, schism, right? Like this person is down, or this person, may have schisms, like not schisms, but like have impaired thinking at times or something like that, right? He's confused at times. They didn't give it like no type of name like schizophrenia or anything like that, right? They gave it a different diagnosis, like difficulty living alone or something like that. It was like what they observed. And like even again, I was like, all this stuff that they do as far as like trying to get people to be positioned to be constantly court ordered, right? And this happens a lot in Michigan. This happens a lot. Like even the people in jail. Like if you go to jail for a crime or an offense or something like that, what do? They put you on psych drugs. You know what I'm saying? So like not only do you have the hurdle of getting over this medication order and by the lower courts, but you also have to get over custody of a guardian. You have to get over conservatorship battles. You have to get over misdemeanors, felonies, and stuff like that. You got to get over that stuff, even your reputation, because people prejudge you just based off of how they see you, right? Or what you may fit the understanding of, and it may not even be valid, right? A lot of the times it's not valid. Um, so I got into the hospital, and the lady, she came in as a psychiatrist. She like, okay, well he has bipolar depression. Then they changed it to schizophrenia, and I'm like, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. So they made it to where like, okay, we have a court order. So if you decide to go against it, we can just have the cops come and pick you up, and we can hold you for however long we want to hold you. And that's what they did repeatedly since 2019. Since 2020, like that's what they did. And now here it is, 3 years. I haven't even been hospitalized for refusing to take the drugs because I won my guardianship, which was terminated, right? And as you can see today, right? The lady who you saw in the previous video, a Nigerian lady, right? She's supposed to be Nigerian. And she's creating a situation where like it may seem, because look, when you speaking to someone and they understand cues, they can be like, I didn't like how he said that, or I didn't like how she said that. oh, this person right here is a drama queen. Oh, this person right here is a thug. When they get you into that battle, right? When they look down on you or you may appear like you're less than them, right? That's when they get, okay, I can say some persuasive to the clerk at the probate court. And the lady who I saw at probate court, right, in my previous video, the other video, not the one that I just did, but the other one from the other day, her name was Sojourner Jones. Never saw this person before. This is my first time seeing her on a Zoom call. And she kept making up excuses why she didn't get the documents that I sent. Meantime, I still have the documents in my email that I did send to the court. So it's receipted, it's stamped. Um, she still claims she didn't get it. So the judge, he believed everything she was saying. He didn't want me to talk at all, right? He didn't want me to get comfortable. I was very uncomfortable talking to them because I know what's going on right now. They're trying to get rid of us. And when I say rid of us, I'm talking about people who look like Wesley Snipes. I'm talking about people who look like Michael Jordan. I'm talking about people who look like LeBron James. They're trying to get rid of this gene. So what they do is they get you on these medications, right? And they attack your organs. Like literally, when they put me on a court order and they put those drugs in me forcibly with the cops standing right there, it's going to deplete my sperm count, which means when I come out, I'm going to have problems with my kidneys, my pancreas. I'm going to have problems with my prostate, which means I won't be able to have kids if I was planning to do that. And a lot of these female doctors and psychiatrists, they know that. This is why when they see someone who they feel like, has a history or something like that in a court, they feel like, okay, this person first admission was in 2016. Let's check up on them and see if you need a mental health checkup. So when they do that and you like, okay, I know these people, they need clients and they need patients. And they'll do it. And the courts, they'll agree with it. And so my thing was when I was in the court the other day, I was like, I have voter rights. I own stocks. I own bonds. I own options. I have a home. I own 2 lands, 2 farms. I own 2 farms, which I'm working on right now. Me and my mother planted trees, to this day, we're still planting trees. I have a mulberry bush. I have a spruce tree. We're trying to do everything that needs to be done for the agenda of 2063, right? We're preparing for it, right? Inshallah, I hope that I still be alive, 2063. And it's like, it doesn't matter what you say, right? People who have these state licenses, right, that's regulated by the Department of Health and the Department of State, they really don't have oversight telling them, well, you can't do this, can you do this? Because you got to remember, these people, when you go into their offices, they have laptops with different software you've never seen. So when you're speaking to them or something like that and you're trying to figure out what's going on, the entire time they're trying to block you out from what they're doing or what kind of files, that they have on you per se, right? Because you got to remember that CIA, that FBI, all that stuff is regulated. So they keep doing that type of thing. They keep doing it. And you don't know who these people are talking to. When you leave out the office, you don't know who these people are talking to. They have wires on you while you're in the office. It's very uncomfortable and it's very unsafe, because it's more of a relationship of I'll give you this drug or you can take it. I'll use the cops on you if you don't take it. It's that sort of thing. So again, 3 years, I haven't been in no court as far as not having to take the drugs. Because again, since 2016, every incident has been because they knew I wasn't taking the drugs. Didn't show any signs of having mental health issues. Didn't show any signs of, being a risk to myself or a risk to someone else. Didn't show any signs of any of that stuff, right? Because they like to say suicide, right? This person, he needs prevention or something like that. None of that stuff. Like, I'm enjoying life. Right? Wrote a book, made music, did music videos, did all that stuff, right? Doing arts like I usually would have loved to do while I was growing up, right? So here we are, right? I spoke to this lady today, right? And I took her off my case before my guardianship was released. I took her off my case because I didn't like what she was doing. And they put me with an East Indian doctor, right? So I get a call from this other lady who's a manager there, right? She manages everybody. Her name is Jessica Lamb. That's the other lady who you heard in the video, who was on the side of the lady who you saw in the video. She had come over my house unannounced. And I was like, we're in a court battle right now. Like, why are you here? And she kept trying to like make it seem like, well, he's not feeling well, so we're going to have the doctor to call him at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and see what we can do. But we're going to carry out this court order from the lower courts. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you also have to understand that once it's entered back into court and it's been accepted, which it has by the Michigan Court of Appeals, you have to pause on whatever report you were given because we finna have another hearing in appeals. And I told her, I said, when we get to Supreme Court, if appeals block it, I'm gonna hope that they allow me to be taken off this mental health order, right? For not taking a drug. Because every 180 days, they can refile a probate order to get you back on drugs. Meaning this just was the 180 days where they did that. So they have me on it again. So now the only thing that I have to do is just think like, okay, eventually the cops are going to come and hospitalize me, right? Because they're trying to go against the court and courts are taking bribes from them. Because I'm noticing that my due process, everything that I've done to this point has been obstructed. Like the judge has ignored my statements. The judge has ignored my notarizations. The judge have ignored my quiet will, my living will, my health directive, my holographic will. He has ignored all my wills that I've had notarized, right? And the court clerks have. They've even miscommunicated while on record. Meaning I caught them in their lie. Like I told the one lady, I said, I spoke to this guy named Yoon. And she's like, what do you mean? I am Yoon. I'm the BHU. And I started to say Peter Yoon, but I didn't say anything. And she called me after the meeting, the court hearing. And I told her, I said Peter Yoon. I didn't say, you. I said Yoon. And she was like, oh, that's another BHU. And I'm like, okay, well, he didn't put my court documents due because you only said you had two, and it was never entered into the record. So I'm like, she studied making up excuses for everything I'm saying. But I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I just need to tell them I don't understand English or something like that, because like they're not getting it. So all this time I've been learning different languages from America and also from Western Africa. I've been learning languages. So today I told the lady, I said, yeah, I speak Yamaje. And she was like, oh, you mean Yoruba? And then she changed the pronunciation to Yamaja, then Yamaje, right? She changed the pronunciation like I didn't know what I was talking about. The entire time I'm thinking like she doesn't understand that, we're all using Latin letters. So it's no need to say that, oh, Yoruba belongs to you or your people. Like she don't so she's creating division at the same time while she's in front of this lady and she's in front of me, which means she's completely off code. And I know that her countrymen back in Nigeria don't agree with that. So I had to put in a PPO, a personal protective order against them. And I know the judge is probably going to block it, right? Which means I'm going to be back in the behavioral health center and out within a couple months or whatever they release me. If the cops don't come on, that other time where you've seen the lies be kind of taken out, right? The Mike Browns. Who's the other guy in Baltimore? Freddie Gray. The guy in New York. Eric Gardner. All these people, right? So they're constantly calling cops to my address, my mother house. And they're saying, we got a court order to take him to the behavioral center because he's not taking his drugs. And I'm like, okay. So this is what they're doing again. So I've contacted the White House. I've contacted the Attorney General. I've contacted House reps. I've contacted Supreme Court judges in Michigan. in Michigan. So the only time I hear about, oh, did they get the information or did they get my letter that I sent certified or did they get my email? Only hear from this lady here who's on a Zoom call, Jessica Lamb, where she mentioned that, oh, someone said that they got a correspondence from you, um, from other courts, and I'm like, okay, if she got my correspondence, why she didn't respond to it? So again, that's violation of due process. So not only is my First Amendment being obstructed, right? Because they're kind of say like, you know, he's not thinking straight because it's English, right? So I told her like, I just said I have a ninth grade education, right? You know, not dismissing that I don't have um, a college education, but just a ninth grade education, right? Because the entire time she was trying to make it seem like I was very unconventional, very dismayed, or very illiterate, right? The way that she was responding to what I was saying, like she was trying to make it seem like I was out to lunch, right? Like just didn't know what I was saying. So this is the battle we're in right now. Um, doesn't matter how many investments you have, right? Because right now I'm in the process of losing my home and losing my land due to an impending hospitalization that's going to interrupt my schedule to pay my reimbursements and my bills that are not on auto pay. So I just said, you know what? If that happens, right? If I miss a payment, which I've never missed a payment on my mortgage will be paid off in a couple years. If I miss that, I'm going to sell my home and I'm going to leave the state. You know, I have to, because they're making it very hard for young people who never received compensation for reparations, right? Because if you were living in Southeast Michigan up until, I would say, 2006, 2009, 2012, you went through hell. You went through hell, right? The government was interregnum. They were in bankruptcy, meaning there were no jobs. You know what I mean? That's what we had to go through. Meanwhile, when I leave out of Southeast Michigan, and I go a place like Minnesota or Illinois, I see like these people really don't know what's going on in Michigan. They don't. They really live in life. It's like you have dope fiends everywhere in Michigan. You got people that's on fentanyl. You got people uh, that's putting their babies in freezers. Like all type of stuff is going on, man. Like people is like they're not functioning right. So that's what I had to go through. And I made it, very apparent to him. I said, you know what? Let me contact the representatives. Let me contact the senators. Let me contact the governors and see exactly what they are doing. I voted. I voted for Obama. Like I think I was like 18, 19. I voted for Obama. Nothing came of it. You see what I'm saying? I voted in the first Donald Trump election, the second, the Joe Biden election. And I voted again in the Donald Trump election. I voted for none of these people. I voted independent every time, and I voted for the persons who I felt like were fit for office. And they mainly were athletes. So like this last time, I voted for who? Ibrahim Toure to be mayor of Detroit, and then I voted for Kyrie Irving to also be, I think, in the last one, to be mayor. And what happened was they kept calling me saying, we don't know about this signature on the paper. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know about the signature? You're talking to me right now like I can verify my address. So they had sent an envelope out saying you got to sign it again. And I had to wait to the last minute to get it passed. And I don't even know if it got passed. So like they were blocking votes. They were definitely messing with the ballots. So that's what I had to go through, man. And, I'm thinking like, it's crazy like how people just get things afforded to them, like when they can talk about things like, I voted for this person, or I voted for that. You can see the privilege, right? Like people be so indulged in things that like really don't matter, right? Like the politic war. You know what I mean? Like no one is really focused on the large agenda at hand, right? Like, bruh, we need to plant trees. Right now, we're emitting so much bad carbon in the air, like people are just they're sick. Like you see people with bumps on their face, you see people with sores on their hands, and like literally because there's no oxygen being pushed through the ecosystem because there are no trees. So people are worrying about who's going to get elected, who's going to be at the inaugural ball. Like they're not even worried about trees being planted. They're not worried about any of that stuff. They're not even worrying about their rights being inflicted. So that's where we're at right now. And I maintain this idea. I don't know who Charlie Kirk is. I never looked at his videos. I never looked at any of, his forums that he held in public speaking engagements. I never looked at any of that stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't even know why that stuff is so large in the news. Like, it's literally people out here who've went through 4 depressions, still living right, 4 depressions. And they're talking about Epstein. They're talking about Charlie Kirk. They're talking about P. Diddy. Like, this stuff is not supposed to be international news. It's not. So I told her, I said, I'm going to post that video, and I'm going to show everybody how you look, right? And I want people to really understand something, man. Like, just because people have the same complexion as you, or they may be under the same national origin as you, right? They share a parent, maybe not share 2 parents, whatever it may be, right? They really don't care about the idea of unity, blackness, or Pan-Africanism. They really don't care about any of that stuff. So you see the things that she was doing in that video. She was trying to silence my First Amendment rights. No, he doesn't deserve to talk, right? He needs a needle in his arm, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, right? You really have no, like, say someone, like, I've been in these places before, right? These behavioral health centers. Everybody in Southeast Michigan knows. Stonecrest, Kingswood, Havenwick, all these places. You see kids in there. Like, literally, I'm in one room, it's kids in the next room, and they banging on the walls, kids outside, and they being watched by these people who live a county over, Macomb County, Jackson County, Alpine County, wherever these places at, right? Alpine, right? They live in these places and they commute all the way here to Detroit, right, to collect a check, right? And they have estates. So they don't really need the money. They come here to pick up information that they can report to their confidants or the people who they're in relationships with financially or business wise. They go back and tell them what's going on in some of these communities, right? Because you need somebody here if you're ultimately going to regain the estate. You need to be watching people. So it's kids in the room right there yelling. You see, I saw a girl, she got thrown to the ground by the police, right? And basically got kerfuffled. You know what I'm saying? Like, got kerfuffled. I was in that situation before, right? When I told one of the guys, and this guy, he actually be in the communities, because you got to remember, these nonprofit organizations that, the police fund and the city fund, right? These be ex-informants. Like, these be people who were excommunicated from prison and they were on parole, and, whatever immediate organization helped them start a non-for-profit. So now you got people who are in a community, right, who are basically bringing criminals onto the organization, and they're getting airtime, they're getting publicity time, and they're talking to these people on, these news channels and stuff like that, and they're talking about, oh, this gang, that, and I'm like, that's the language that we don't want to hear, because if you go to Chicago, you will see these gangs, but you don't see that stuff in Michigan. So it's like, why are they bringing it here? You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, man. People, be aware of your rights. You know what I'm saying? Don't just let anybody tell you one-sided information without showing you the substance of it. Like if you tell someone they can't record you, like you got to show the law that says that. Like I literally put in the video comments, I said, here's the citation where it says you can record someone in Michigan if it's, one consent. You can do that if you're a party to the recording. She kept saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's against the law. I don't consent. So we need to get to the point where we're able to get away from the government enough where we can say, okay, these people are using police powers on people. They're using police powers on themselves. Like you turn on a channel, you probably going to see Jasmine Crockett pointing at Donald Trump, or you're going to see what's that lady in Missouri, Taylor Greene or something like. She's going to be pointing at Donald Trump. You're going to see something like that, right? Or she's going to be pointing at Gavin Newsom. You're going to see something like that. And basically, like when you look at the culture, your child is looking at television all day. And the people who they're looking at, right, on these Twitch channels, they're around these people who are creating this type of division. And when they're looking at this stuff, your child start to use words that, like, how did you learn that? And you start to figure out, okay, not only is the child, being told what to say, through, because some of these kids, they be having advanced, vocabulary. Like they're being told what to say. Like, I don't know how you can put it, but they're receiving messages, from these towers that you want to call them, or however you want to look at it, right? Because we still don't know how you can pick up, a picture that's on an LCD screen, but it's there, right? You can print it out, all that. So I talked about this, right? In some of my past videos, but the 5D experience, the holographic realm, all that stuff, right? Where you can basically do speech and pronounce words as you forget them and also receive them, which is kind of like a scientific method that you can also look into, which is why we have PhD instructors, because they understand that, there's another dimension than just what we see in reality. Everything is just not inclusive to being seen or being felt, but you also have different experiences as far as taste that goes far beyond touch. So this is the last thing I'm going to say, though. Really, people, be aware of the political agendas that's happening around you. As you can see, like when we're looking at television, we're looking at the internet, we're looking at our phones and stuff like that. We're constantly put in this cycle of, here, you're going to see this person, or you're going to, and they all look the same. You know what I'm saying? Like you never see people, they never show you the media takeout of Nigeria or Ghana or somewhere like that. They never show you those people. You got to look hard for those people. You got to really look. So that's all I pretty much want to say. And, continue to support Pan-Africanism. Continue to support it, because, like, the only way we're going to get out of this situation is just like if we're able to recognize where there's a commonality between melanin, right? The content, what gives you the ability to think and the ability to be peaceful and the ability to be cordial. And also you got to look at, language, you know what I'm saying? Like the people who you want to see at these establishments, they don't speak Pidgin, they don't speak Creole, they don't speak any Western language, right? All their languages is pretty much off of, what they kind of learned as they got here, which really wasn't from the people who were expecting them. It's kind of like what they saw in publications and what they were taught from other people. Because you got to think, if we're the same, you would think that we would have the same accent, but it's obvious, right? We don't have the same color, but like we have the same accent, We will dress the same. We will like the same music, but it's forced assimilation. So I'll just end off with that. Be careful of forced assimilation and do not let people create narratives for you. Do not allow that to happen. Do not allow people to create narratives for you. Do not let people expect like they know who you are or like they know you. Don't allow that at all either, you know, because they're going to have something to sell you, and they're also going to have an eye on the back of their head watching you. So, like, you can't trust people like that at all. Great piece, Yakoki.